You feel it, don't you? That kind of undeniable shift happening all around us.
Hmm.
AI isn't some abstract future thing anymore. It's already here, influencing how we work, how we learn, how we create, even.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like that background hum that's just getting louder, and it makes you wonder, okay, how do I actually navigate this? How do I make sense of it all when it's changing so fast?
And that feeling, that kind of need to understand, that's precisely why something like AI literacy has become so essential.
Right.
It's not just about, knowing how to use the tools. It's much more about understanding the implications, their power, and how to interact with them responsibly and in an informed way.
Exactly. It's about being equipped to, well, thrive, right? Not just get by in this AI-infused world.
Hmm.
And today we're doing a deep dive into a really key document that's aiming to provide a roadmap for exactly that. It's the Draft AI Literacy Framework for Primary and Secondary Education.
A pretty major piece of work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just some academic paper tucked away somewhere. This is coming from the European Commission and the OECD, and it's built with input from groups like Code.org, international experts, a lot of players involved.
And we'll also be looking at insights from someone who's really been, grappling with how to put this framework into practice. So we get that real-world perspective, too.
Perfect. So our mission for this deep dive, let's unpack this framework. Let's try to understand what AI literacy really looks like for you listening, for yourself, and maybe for the young people in your life.
Yeah.
And critically explore how we can actually start building these skills in practical ways, like right now.
Cutting through the noise.
Exactly. Getting to the core stuff that matters.
And it's a conversation we really need to have.
Yeah.
Because the reality on the ground, it presents a pretty significant challenge.
You mean the fact that young people are already kind of neck deep in AI, whether they have formal guidance or not?
Precisely. They're experimenting, they're playing around, they're engaging with AI tools in all sorts of ways, structured and unstructured. Okay. But the big question is, where are they actually learning about it? And the sources show this really striking guidance gap. When they asked 17 to 27-year-olds, a massive 55% said they learned about AI primarily from social media.
Wow. 55%. So their main source is basically the algorithm itself on platforms not primarily built for education.
Exactly that. And then another 35% mentioned news and media. Now, compare that to where they're learning from, say, trusted adults or institutions.
Okay, what are those numbers?
Only 15% from educators, and just 12% from employers or colleagues.
That is a huge disparity, a really big gap. They're getting info about this powerful, complex tech, mainly from sources designed for speed and engagement, not necessarily accuracy or deep understanding.
And that has real implications, doesn't it? It means they might be more exposed to misinformation, maybe they don't recognize bias that's baked into AI outputs.
Or the privacy issues.
Exactly. Privacy implications, potential skills gaps.
Yeah.
They really need reliable information and, crucially, a focus on ethical thinking to navigate all this safely and effectively.
And it sounds like they feel this gap themselves, too.
Yeah, the data suggests that. Among 12 to 17-year-olds, nearly half, 46%, don't feel their schools are really preparing them adequately for AI. And 44% say the same about their teachers. There's also some real worry that 49% are concerned that AI could actually widen academic gaps between students.
Which just highlights why this framework is so important, right?
It really underscores it. It steps in as a starting point, offering a common language, a clearer picture of what AI literacy actually is. It helps educators, stakeholders, everyone really, understand this new educational imperative.
Okay, let's get into that clearer picture then. The framework starts, logically enough, by defining its terms. What is AI, according to this document?
The definition they give is pretty clear and concise. They describe AI as a machine-based system.
Okay.
And this system makes inferences from the input data it receives
Right.
to generate outputs, things like predictions, content, recommendations, or even decisions. And these systems operate with varying levels of autonomy. They can learn, they can adapt.
So it's a broad term.
It is. It covers a whole range of systems,
Yeah.
though sometimes you hear people use it specifically talking about, say, generative AI or machine learning. But the framework uses it broadly.
Got it. So not just one single thing, but a whole family of systems that process information to produce something new, often with some independence. So building on that, how does the framework define AI literacy itself?
Okay, this is really the core of it. They define AI literacy as the combination of technical knowledge, durable skills that last,
Great.
and future-ready attitudes, all needed to thrive in a world that's increasingly influenced by AI.
So knowledge, skills, attitudes.
Exactly. And it's about being able to engage with AI, create with it, manage it, and even design AI systems. But, and this is key, doing all that while having the critical capacity to evaluate its benefits, its risks, and the ethical
That
implications.
sounds much richer, much broader than
Yeah.
just, knowing how to use ChatGPT.
Oh, absolutely. It's about understanding, interacting, and critically evaluating the whole picture.
Yeah.
And the framework makes it clear it's not starting from zero. It builds on existing, well-respected work.
Right, I saw that. It draws on things like DigComp.
Yep, the European Digital Competence Framework focuses on learner agency.
And UNESCO's work on global relevance, digital promises, ideas about different ways people engage with tech,
Modes of engagement, yeah.
and also the AI for K-12 initiative, which gives some technical basics for schools.
Exactly. And by building on these foundations, the framework itself is guided by some core principles,
Like what?
like focusing on a durable foundation that will stick around even as the tech itself evolves rapidly,
Makes sense.
emphasizing interdisciplinary integration. So AI isn't just stuck in the computer science class. It's relevant across different subjects,
Important.
ensuring practical application, making sure it's manageable in actual classrooms, not just theoretical, and incorporating insights from a global community of experts.
So it's designed to be pretty robust, flexible, and hopefully applicable worldwide.
Okay, let's get to the heart of it, the structure. How does it break down AI literacy into sort of actionable pieces?
It organizes everything around those three core components we mentioned: knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Think of them as the pillars holding up that durable foundation.
Okay, let's dig into each one. What kind of knowledge are we talking about here?
So knowledge is the conceptual understanding, the facts, the ideas, the processes.
Right.
This includes understanding how AI processes data, algorithms, statistical inference, but also, and this is really important, recognizing that AI lacks genuine understanding in the human sense.
Okay, that distinction is crucial.
Fair. It also covers how human choices and potential biases get reflected in AI systems. That happens through the data they're trained on, how that data is sourced and labeled. Learners also need to understand AI's capabilities and its limitations, its broader role in society, and its effects on individuals, on society, and importantly, on the environment.
You mean like the energy costs? Exactly. That includes the significant environmental cost of training these really large AI models. That's part of the knowledge base.
Okay, so it's about the mechanics, the human element, the bias, the impact, positive and negative. Got it. What about skills?
Skills are about applying fundamental human abilities, but in the context of AI.
Ah, okay. Like what?
So critical thinking is huge here, evaluating AI-generated stuff for accuracy, for bias. Creativity involves collaborating with AI, using it as a tool or a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Computational thinking helps you frame problems in a way that AI might be able to assist with. Collaboration means working effectively not just with other people, but with AI systems too.
Interesting. Collaboration with the AI.
Yeah. Then there's problem solving, which includes figuring out when and how it even makes sense to use AI for a specific task. Communication is about explaining how you used AI clearly and avoiding, anthropomorphism, treating the AI like it's a person.
No, don't give it human feelings it doesn't have.
Exactly. And finally, self and social awareness, recognizing how AI influences your own behaviors and the dynamics in society.
These really do sound like durable skills just applied to this new AI domain.
Okay. And the third pillar was attitudes.
Attitudes. These are the mindsets, the dispositions you need to engage with AI responsibly.
Okay, examples.
Being responsible, thinking carefully about the consequences of using AI, understanding accountability, being curious, being eager to explore what AI can do. Being innovative, open to new approaches using AI. Adaptable, flexible, because this tech changes constantly.
Yeah, you need that.
And being empathetic, always considering the human and the environmental impact of AI development and use.
I noticed when you were listing those, ethical considerations weren't like a separate box. They seemed woven throughout.
That's a very deliberate and important aspect of the framework. Ethics aren't treated as an add-on. They're integrated directly into the knowledge component, understanding bias, impact,
Right.
into the skills critical evaluation, responsible use.
And into the attitudes like responsibility and empathy. It really highlights that responsible AI engagement is fundamental to every single part of literacy.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we have this foundation: knowledge, skills, attitudes, with ethics woven in. How does the framework describe the different ways that learners, or really any of us, actually interact with AI in practice?
That's where the 4 domains come into play. They represent different modes of interaction with AI.
Okay.
Think of them less as rigid categories you have to fit into, and more as different ways you can build and show your AI literacy. You can develop skills across all of them.
Got it. So the first one is engaging with AI.
Right. And this is probably the most common way people interact right now. It's basically using AI as a tool to get information or recommendations, like asking a chatbot a question or getting movie suggestions.
Standard stuff.
Pretty standard. The literacy part here is, first, recognizing that AI is present, knowing you're interacting with an algorithm. And second, critically evaluating the outputs. So, for example, really examining how those predictive recommendations on social media, where we know lots of young people are learning about AI, how those are shaping the information you see.
Right, connecting it back to that earlier point.
Exactly. Or checking the accuracy and potential bias of text generated by a large language model. Understanding this domain helps you see how AI is already influencing your daily life, your choices, the information you consume.
So it starts with awareness, then moves to critical evaluation. Makes sense. Okay, the second domain, creating with AI.
This one's about using AI more as a collaborator in creative processes.
Ah, okay.
It involves guiding the AI, maybe through prompts or feedback,
Yeah.
and also thinking about important ethical questions like ownership and attribution of what's created.
Yeah, who owns the output?
Exactly. The framework gives examples like using generative AI to brainstorm story ideas, or maybe combining outputs from different AI tools like getting text from one and an image from another.
Uh-huh.
The sources mention this idea of using AI as a thought partner to sort of amplify human creativity. And the framework itself uses a persona, Sophia, who's 10 years old.
Right.
And she uses generative AI to explore story plots. But she still trusts her own creative vision. It's about that human-AI partnership in making something new.
That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? It's not the AI doing all the work, it's the human guiding and refining. Okay, third domain, managing AI.
Now, this domain is particularly interesting, I think. It's about intentionally choosing how AI can support and enhance human work, specifically by delegating certain tasks to it.
Delegating tasks to AI.
Yeah. The idea is this frees up humans to focus on the things AI isn't good at. Complex judgment, empathy, deep creativity.
Right.
It encourages thinking about AI tools, not just as software you use, but almost as agents or things you can assign work to.
Right.
Like teammates, almost.
AI team, that's a powerful framing.
It is. And one of the experts quoted in the sources, Patti Ruiz, makes the point that effective management really starts with the decision of whether AI is even the right tool for the job in the first place.
Good point. Don't use it just because it's there.
Exactly. So examples here might be deciding if AI is appropriate for a task, or breaking down a complex problem into parts for humans and parts for AI, or giving really clear instructions to a generative AI to get what you need. It's about moving past this idea of competing with AI and more towards collaborating with it to do potentially what they call superhuman work.
That concept of AI as a delegate, a teammate, it really reframes the interaction away from replacement towards partnership. Okay, and the final domain, designing AI.
So this domain is about understanding how AI actually works by exploring its design choices, the role of data, but usually in an educational context, not necessarily building commercial products.
Ah, okay. More about understanding the principles.
Exactly. The goal is to build confidence in learners, showing them that they can understand and potentially even influence AI for good. Examples in the framework include things like collecting data to train a simple model, or comparing how different AI approaches might tackle the same problem.
So not becoming an AI engineer necessarily.
Not at all. There's a great quote from Kathy Adams in the sources. Students don't need to be AI engineers to shape technology, not just be shaped by it. It's about grasping the fundamentals so you can have a say in AI's direction.
Engaging, creating, managing, designing. Okay, those 4 domains really seem to cover the spectrum of interaction, from just using AI to actively shaping it. But if you had to pull out, like, the single most important outcome or competence this whole framework is aiming for, what would that be?
Well, the framework itself points towards this. It talks about the anatomy of a competence, showing how the knowledge, skills, and attitudes all come together for specific abilities.
Okay.
And one key competence they really highlight is this. Decide whether to use AI systems based on the nature of the task.
Decide. That feels incredibly important.
Yeah.
It's not just about, can I use AI, but should I use AI for this and how?
Precisely. That's the core insight, I think. The most critical outcome of genuine AI literacy is that ability to make informed, responsible decisions about when and how to deploy AI.
Right.
And that decision-making requires really weighing the AI's capabilities against its risks
Mm.
and thinking through the ethical implications for that specific task in that specific context.
And this kind of approach, focusing on decision-making, feels much more, well, durable than just having simple rules, right? Like banning AI tools, which we know often doesn't work.
Or those rigid traffic light models someone mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Those simple rules often fall apart pretty quickly because the technology just changes so fast.
Mm-hmm.
A framework like this, focused on building decision-making competence, it empowers individuals. It helps them adapt and make choices grounded in real understanding,
Yeah.
rather than just trying to follow static rules that might be outdated next week. It gives the human the agency.
Okay, this framework really does sound like a vital resource, especially for educators, but really for anyone navigating this. How does this apply directly to, you listening right now?
Well, whether you're an educator yourself or a parent or just someone supporting young people, integrating AI literacy into learning and life is becoming a shared responsibility.
It affects everyone.
It does. Educators are definitely on the front lines, guiding learners, but they also need support themselves, right?
Yeah.
To develop their own competence, to figure out effective teaching strategies. This framework gives everyone that common foundation, that shared language to start from.
Can you give us a sort of real-world glimpse of this being put into action?
Yeah, the sources mention some work being done with a partner called Desert Sands. Their leadership team seems to really exemplify this kind of forward-thinking approach.
How so?
Well, instead of just reacting defensively to AI popping up everywhere, they actually built their guidance based on a vision centered on empowering everyone's staff and students to design their own future.
That sounds proactive.
Very. They saw AI adoption as an opportunity, actually, to foster trust and collaboration. And they focused specifically on empowering teachers and students to make those responsible decisions about when and how to use AI, drawing directly on the kinds of principles we see in this framework.
That's really inspiring. Moving from just reacting to having a proactive vision of empowerment. Okay, and are there practical ways someone listening could start using the principles of this framework, maybe in their own work or context?
Absolutely. And this is where it gets quite actionable, I think.
Hmm.
Consider using tools like Google Gemini's Gems feature these customizable AI agents.
Okay, custom AI. How would that work?
You can actually train these gems with specific knowledge. You could feed it, say, the AI literacy framework document itself, or maybe your school's or organization's specific AI guidelines and policies.
Ah, so you could basically create an AI assistant that's specifically trained on the very principles of AI literacy you want to promote.
Exactly. So then you or your colleagues could use this custom AI to help process information, brainstorm ideas, work through different scenarios, but always based on those sound principles and guidelines. You fed it.
That makes the framework much less like a static document on a shelf.
And more like a dynamic, helpful partner in your workflow. It really lowers the friction of implementation, doesn't it? It brings the concepts to life right where you're working. You're essentially using AI as a tool to help everyone become more AI literate.
That's a fantastic, really practical way to bridge that gap between the theory and daily practice.
Hmm.
Okay, shifting gears just slightly to look ahead, the sources also touch on the evolving nature of AI itself, right?
They do. They mention the distinction between ANI, artificial narrow intelligence,
Yeah.
the AI we mostly have now, good at specific tasks,
Right.
and the potential, much discussed, for AGI, artificial general intelligence. That's AI that could theoretically generalize across a whole wide range of tasks, more like a human.
And the timeline for advanced AGI is, well, heavily debated, but the trend is definitely towards more capable AI systems overall.
It certainly is. And that trend points towards AI systems becoming increasingly powerful teammates, maybe even coworkers in some sense,
Mm.
capable of automating or significantly augmenting complex tasks that only humans used to do.
Which brings us right back full circle to why this preparation, this AI literacy we've been talking about, is just so critical.
Absolutely. The frameworks focus on those durable human skills. Critical thinking, collaboration, communication, combined with understanding AI's capabilities and limitations, that's the key to thriving in this future.
Yeah.
It's really about positioning humans to work with AI effectively, to achieve things neither could do alone. It's not about setting up a competition we can't win. It's about partnership.
So summing all this up then, this AI literacy framework, it really provides a vital roadmap. It shifts the conversation away from just using the tools and puts the focus squarely on developing that core knowledge, those durable skills, and the right attitudes needed to make informed decisions and thoughtfully shape this technology for, human benefit.
And hopefully this deep dive is giving you listening a significant head start in understanding these essential concepts and appreciating why they're so critical, both for your own development and for guiding the next generation.
Definitely. And building on that framework, and especially that powerful idea of AI as teammates that can augment our own abilities,
Hmm.
maybe here's something to ponder. In an age where artificial intelligence can dramatically expand what we're capable of, what does it truly mean for a human to be superhuman? How does really understanding AI literacy fundamentally change the way you think about your own potential and maybe the very future of learning itself?